the quality of primary education in this country leaves a lot to be desired, because most of the primary education takes place in public sector schools. A government in Pakistan, when it decides to set up a government primary schools, the norm is 2 rooms and 2 teachers, and that is for 6 grades. So even if your teacher is there, 100% attendance is there, the quality is not there, because no one teacher can teach 6 grades. I mean, no matter even how great you are as a multi-grade teacher. So as a result of all of that, we have citizens of this country deciding to take their own route.
पेरेंट्स को कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आएगा गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के ऊपर, टीचर्स के ऊपर, उनके एटीट्यूड पे, उनके बिहेवियर के ऊपर, उनकी जो एजुकेशन उनकी खुद अपनी है और जिस तरह वो डिलीवर कर रहे हैं। प्राइवेट स्कूल्स में पेरेंट्स इसलिए अपने बच्चे भेज रहे हैं कि वो बड़े मुतमईन हैं, और जो हम प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं स्टूडेंट्स को इतने कम लेवल के ऊपर, इतनी कम हमारी फ़ीस है, उसके हिसाब से तो वो पेरेंट्स बड़े मुतमईन हैं।
Low-fee private schools are essentially catering in Pakistan to the lower middle class and people with low incomes. Essentially, you would find low fees meaning something like 200 to 300 rupees a month.
1/3 of the population is being addressed by the private sector education, and 2/3 is by the public sector. If you see the enrollment trends, then we have 11 million students in Punjab in public schools and about 7 million in the private schools, and that gap is I think private sector is getting at par very rapidly to the public sector.
There are 63,000 schools in Punjab, government schools. More than 45,000 schools, they have no basic facilities there, like there is no washroom, there are no proper classrooms, no electricity, no water, no sanitation, nothing, more than 45,000. And it is estimated that more than 100 billion rupees is required to upgrade these schools. And the Punjab government don't have the money.
It is a profitable area for entrepreneurs to get into because there's very little initial outlay. And so there is a big and growing market for low-fee private schools in the country, especially in Punjab.
There is a comparative thing going on in the educational sector also, in private sector. If we are giving a comparative advantage or comparative edge to the student, the parents and students coming to there. So similar is the thing, you can say that the consumer is the god, or here our consumers are the parents.
ये छोटा बेटा जो है वो ये प्राइवेट स्कूल में जाता है और बेटी जो है वो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में जाती है। बेटी पहले प्राइवेट स्कूल में पढ़ती थी तो उसकी फ़ीस ज़्यादा हो गई थी और ट्यूशन की फ़ीस भी देना पड़ती, तो वो अफोर्ड नहीं कर सकता था। इस वजह से उसको मैंने गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में दाखिल करवा दिया, और बच्चे को प्राइवेट स्कूल में, ये अभी छोटा है, 1 क्लास में पढ़ता है, तो इस वजह से इसकी फ़ीस मैं अफोर्ड कर सकता हूँ, तो इस वजह से इसको प्राइवेट स्कूल में।
These people are amazing. They are thinking on multiple levels, they are doing multiple jobs, having multiple incomes and deciding what they want. If they today decide that they want to go to a government school entirely state funded versus a government assisted school funded through public private partnerships through the education foundations, or to an entirely low cost private school funded by themselves and entirely self-financing, let the people decide.
Private sector schools are responding to the dynamic of the market, and what that means is that they have to be better than their competitor. Now, if public sector schools set a very low baseline for quality, as they often do, then all that the private sector school in the area has to do is to establish that it is better than this public sector school, which means that no huge effort is involved. They would be employing teachers who are not particularly qualified. They would obviously have no security of tenure. A very large number would be young women. So the costs are low, but because the government sector is setting such a low baseline, the private sector school is not constrained to deliver quality education either.
Next हमारा topic है वो है 2.6 में addition के question. मैंने maths में BSc किया। ट्रेनिंग कोर्स तो नहीं किया, अफाक वालों की एक वर्कशॉप हुई थी टीचर्स ट्रेनिंग की, वो ली थी।
We go to school together. All the teachers are like him. May Allah live lifelong. Amen.
मेरी ग्रेजुएशन है विद MS ऑफिस है और विद स्पोकन इंग्लिश। मैंने टीचिंग का कोर्स तो नहीं किया हुआ है, लेकिन मैंने 1-2 स्कूल्स में पढ़ाया हुआ है। ज़रूरी तो नहीं है, क्योंकि ये एक्सपीरियंस हो जाता है जब आपने 1 या 2 स्कूल्स में पढ़ाया हुआ, आपकी प्रोफेशन लाइन ही ये है, तो मेरा ख्याल है कि आप बच्चों के कॉन्सेप्ट को क्लियर कर सकते हैं।
यूनियन है, इतना मुझे नॉलेज है, लेकिन मैं नहीं। स्कूल की बेहतरी के लिए होती हैं, इदारे की बेहतरी के लिए जो यूनियन बना हुआ है।
कि अगर तो स्टूडेंट्स पढ़ने वाला है और उसको पढ़ाई का शौक़ है, फिर तो मेरी कोशिश होती है स्टूडेंट्स ना जाए, चाहे वो पे करे या ना करे। ज़ाहिर है फिर हम अपने स्कूल्स में ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कोशिश करते हैं बच्चों को अच्छी एजुकेशन देने में, उनके हर चीज़ में, इवन एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलम जो होता है उसके ऊपर भी हम ज़्यादा वजह देते हैं। ये नहीं होता सिर्फ कि हमने एजुकेशन ही देनी, हम उनके सारे जितने भी एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलम में आता है, गेम्स आती हैं या कोई डिबेट आती हैं या कोई भी ऐसा क्विज़ प्रोग्राम आता है, वो हम करते हैं अपने स्कूल्स में करते हैं। इवन हम ट्रिप्स भी लेके जाते हैं, तो इसीलिए कि ताकि हम कंपटीशन में इन रहें और हम लूज़ ना कर पाएँ।
It's so much competition is there, it's very difficult to survive even here. If there is so much competition, ultimately the quality also raises. That's a vice versa thing. A good competition would raise the quality and lower the prices also. So if there are 4 schools in the same lane and charging the same amount, the thing which would differentiate is the quality, faculty, and the management thing.
You have to make sure that the public sector sets the baseline for quality, and so that the private sector is forced to compete. Because if you leave it entirely to the private sector, then you cannot rule out the kind of collusion that we see in other sectors all the time. I mean, there is nothing new about that.
Yes, people want regulation, but self-regulation is better. In this country, a lot of public sector, and I'm talking about senior grade 22 bureaucrats, said to me, don't you dare bring us into regulation. And these are his quotes. You bring us into regulation, we'll lead to more corruption, we'll lead to more bottlenecks for the people of this country. If there has to be regulation, let there be self-regulation, because bring in the government into regulation, you're asking for trouble.
You must retain a basic minimum standard so you allow for equality of opportunity. You should not have a situation where somebody who goes into the public sector stream is then doomed to certain kinds of jobs, a certain level of income, will never be able to get past that glass ceiling. That's all we argue for, that standard, that minimum standard has to be there, and to that extent the government must ensure that it runs institutions that conform to that minimum standard. It should not work on the assumption that it doesn't have to, that it can allow the sector to collapse in the hope that the private sector will bail everybody out.
सिद्रा ने सही लिखा है ये? थैंक यू।
हमारी ख्वाहिश ये है कि हम इस स्कूल को और ख़ुसूसन सरकारी स्कूलों को इस सतह पर लेकर आएँ कि लोग प्राइवेट स्कूलों में 500-1000 रुपये फ़ीस भरने के बजाय यहाँ पर फ्री बच्चों को पढ़ाएं और अच्छा माहौल मिल सकेगा, तो इंशाअल्लाह ताला जो अच्छे बच्चों के और उनके वालिदैन के दरमियान ये खुद एतमादी पैदा कर सकें कि ये सरकारी स्कूल जो हैं ये आपके हैं, और इनमें अगर आप बच्चों को अपनों को तालीम दिलवाएंगे तो वो किसी भी प्राइवेट स्कूल से कम नहीं है।
There are 5 family members mentioned in the lesson.
हम लोग ट्रेंड ही होते हैं जब इन सर्विस होते हैं, जब आते हैं हम अपनी सर्विस में, उसके बाद मज़ीद जब जैसे जैसे हमारा निसाब जो है वो चेंज होता जाता है, उसके साथ साथ हमें रिफ्रेशर ट्रेनिंग की ज़रूरत होती है। आजकल हमारी क्लासेस हो रही हैं इसकी टीचर ट्रेनिंग की, तो उसमें भी हम लोग लेसन देते हैं जाके, तो हमारे मेंटोर्स वगैरह बड़ा अप्रिशिएट करते हैं कि आपका वे ऑफ टॉकिंग, आपका वे ऑफ टीचिंग बहुत अच्छा है, आप पढ़ाती बहुत अच्छे हैं, आप बच्चों को एक्सप्लेन बहुत अच्छे तरीके से करती हैं। लेसन प्लानिंग की जो सबसे ज़्यादा हमारे लिए मुश्किल हो गई है कि हमने एक बाकायदा लेसन प्लान तैयार करना है, फिर उसके मुताबिक, पहले ऐसा नहीं होता था, ऐसा ये होता था कि थोड़ा बहुत चले हम लोग लिखते थे, डेली डायरी लिखते थे, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होता था कि हम पूरा लेसन तैयार करें। टीचर्स यूनियन तो हमारी है एजुकेशन की, बिल्कुल हमारे लिए वो स्टैंड लेते हैं।
not all public sector schools are failing, but a very large number of them are. And it seems that one of the reasons is that the middle class, people who can afford to put their children in private schools, are opting to do so. So it's a cyclical thing, where if you choose to stay and use your voice to improve quality, that is one option that the middle class can take. The other option is to exit, and so we are seeing the exit choice, the exit option being taken much more frequently. And so the more that class exits, the class with the voice exits, the worse those schools become, because nobody really cares, and those who care don't have the voice, don't have the means or the ability to change, to get policies changed, to secure improvement in those schools.
It's quite extraordinary, because an ordinary citizen of this country has to sort out their water, their electricity, their education, their extra earnings, their security. We are not expecting anything from the state anymore. The people of this country are now thinking of how they can manage themselves in spite of the state.